Friends, in this journey of life, something wonderful happened to me. I got my Guru, Paramhansa, Swami Niranjan Saraswati. And we as a family got associated with the Bihar School of Yoga, which is in Munger, Bihar. A place so beautiful and serene that it moves you from within. Through 4 podcasts, I bring to you this joyous and happy world. Friends, fellow travelers, today I will be in conversation with a very senior sannyasi of Bihar School of Yoga, Swami Shivdhyanam, who has been associated with this place for last 2 decades. It's my proud privilege to speak to him about the institution and the way forward yoga would be going through this place. Hari Om, Dasi ji, thank you for being with the dialogues within.
Hari Om, it's my pleasure.
Swamiji, when I was coming up the hill here to speak to you, I was thinking about Swami Satyananda Saraswati ji. One of his most famous quotes is, "Yoga is the inheritance of present times, it is the need of today and culture of future." In fact, Swami Satyananda ji is modern sage Patanjali. Would you elaborate on this aspect?
Yes, I believe this statement that Swami Satyananda Saraswati ji is the Patanjali, the sage Patanjali of modern times. There is no exaggeration in that statement. Rather, I would say it's an understatement. Definitely, sage Patanjali made a major contribution in the field of yoga. He compiled the knowledge that was prevalent at his time, and he codified it, expressed it in the form of sutras or aphorisms, which we now know as the Yoga Sutras. They describe both the philosophy and the practice of yoga. They were relevant in the times in which they were written, when there were no other means of communication, and most of the knowledge was passed from generation to generation, from guru to disciple through word of mouth. So the instructions naturally had to be very succinct and terse. Now if we come to the modern age, when times have changed, human society has changed, the human potential is not the same of what it used to be centuries or millennia ago. And in these times, to present that knowledge and preserve that knowledge in a form which is suited to the times was definitely a need that was there in the human society. And I personally think that this need was met by 3 great spiritual luminaries. The first is Swami Shivananda Saraswati, who is the guru of Swami Satyananda ji. He established the Divine Life Society in Rishikesh. He himself was a medical doctor by profession, but he realized that medicine had a limited role to play. In order to fulfill the needs, the vacuum that people face in their life, and to enable them to grow and reach their fullest potential, something else was needed. He himself was a great visionary, and he could see the needs of his generation and the generations to come. And he presented the science and subject of yoga in a way that was suited to the present times. So in a sense, he is responsible for the renaissance that started in the 20th century and has continued on till then. And his vision of yoga was a complete vision of yoga, a holistic vision. He used to say that yoga should develop the entire human potential, develop man's personality in all aspects. He used to say that yoga should lead to the development of the faculties of head, heart and hands, which are the three main attributes that define us as human beings. The head relates to our intellect, to our thinking, heart to our emotions and feelings, and hands to our expressions in life, our activities, our achievements, our contributions. So this was Swami Shivananda's vision. And he instructed his disciples to take this message. And he particularly chose Swami Satyananda because he could see the potential in him. And he gave him the mandate to take this science of yoga and spread it from door to door and shore to shore. Swami Satyananda took this mandate of his guru, and for many years he experimented on himself, on other people, chose the practices, systematized the practices, presented them in a way that was suited to the times. So what sage Patanjali did in his time, presenting knowledge in a certain form so that it could be preserved and passed on, Swami Satyananda did the same on a much larger scale, I would say. What was there in our tradition in the form of sutras, in the form of terse hints, which needed a person with experience and intuition to grasp them fully, and which the common man cannot, Swami Satyananda distilled this knowledge and then presented it in a scientific, systematic manner, in a progressive way, so that even someone who was a total neophyte, a beginner, could begin his or her journey and begin to gain the benefits of yoga. So truly he has played that role. He collected that knowledge, presented it, that's the important thing, in a way that modern man can appreciate, understand and apply. And this work, this mission of bringing the Yoga Ganga from the Himalayas to the people, into the midst of people's lives, has continued with Swami Satyananda's successor and chosen disciple, Swami Niranjan Saraswati ji. And he has taken that subject forward, developed it, and applying it in society to address the needs of all the sectors of society, all the strata of society, whatever they may be, so that they can all gain benefits from yoga and improve their own life, the quality of living, thinking, expression and behavior. And today, that statement of Swami Satyananda that you mentioned in the beginning, that it will be the culture of tomorrow, we can see that happening. The science of yoga has spread from door to door, shore to shore. We see it in the adoption of the International Day of Yoga.
Yes.
Practically all the nations endorsed that idea, accepted that idea. They take that day out, the day of 21st June, and people come together in the spirit of yoga, in the spirit of fellowship, and learn, practice and apply yoga in their own lives. So it is beginning to create a shift in humanity's mindset, thinking, lifestyle. So definitely that statement of his is coming true right in front of our eyes.
Thank you, Swamiji. That was a very beautiful exposition about the luminaries of Bihar School of Yoga. And the words which you spoke were so beautiful, words like renaissance, with respect to yoga, holistic development and the full potential of human beings, and then presenting it to society in a very scientific and progressive manner. Truly, one does feel that shift from an ancient science to making it more contextual in contemporary times as you spoke about it. Tell us something about the origins and what are the hallmarks of Satyananda Yoga?
As I mentioned to you, Swami Shivananji gave this mandate of spreading yoga to Swami Satyananda. He left his Guru's ashram in Rishikesh in the year 1956. And for 8-9 years, he traveled as a mendicant throughout the Indian subcontinent. He was a penniless, wandering sadhu. He would stay with the rich, with the poor. He interacted with everyone. And that period gave him an insight. It allowed him to gauge the needs of society, the people in different circumstances and conditions of life, what they need, what are the problems that they are suffering from, and how yoga could help them. So after this period of introspection, reflection, experimentation, trial and error, he established the Bihar School of Yoga in 1963, right here in Munger, in the state of Bihar. And from here, this vision of yoga that Swami Shivananji had, that began to spread in the nation and throughout the world. It started with humble beginnings. It was a small 2-room place that had been donated by an affluent person of the town. And from those humble beginnings, from a one-man show, which was what the initial ashram was, Swami Satyananda used to do everything in the ashram. From managing the ashram to cooking to cleaning to teaching himself. And he trained the first group of people. And throughout his yoga mission, he was clear about how he wanted this knowledge to develop and spread. So the initial group of people that he trained were trained by him to be teachers themselves, who could then go back to their place, to their country, and propagate this subject, this science. And from these humble beginnings, the yoga mission of Swami Satyananda slowly took shape. And in a short span of 20 years, the yogic flag had been hoisted in practically every continent in most of the countries of the world. And the hallmark of this tradition, if you ask me personally, I would say again is that holistic approach. Because human personality is not a one-sided concept. We are a mixture of different things. We have a physical body, we have a mind, we have emotions, we have an intellect. And just doing a particular branch of yoga, which only caters to a particular aspect of the personality, only leads to one-sided development. And Swami Satyananda had that vision that he wanted yoga to develop the total personality. So this holistic approach is seen in how the different branches of yoga were integrated. It became an integral yoga, a synthesis. Different branches of yoga like Hatha Yoga, Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, which earlier were compartmentalized. People only took up one or two of them. Swami Satyananda brought these together into what he called the concept of Yoga Chakra. An aspect of yoga that is practice oriented and an aspect that is lifestyle oriented. So again, here you see the synthesis between practice and lifestyle. There's something that you do, that you practice, that you perfect, and then there are things that you do in your daily life to express what you have achieved, what you have gained through those practices. Both are important. Rather, I would say the lifestyle aspect is even more important because that relates to how you lead your entire day, how you interact with people, and that determines in the end the quality of the life that you lead. So this holistic approach to yoga, and underlying it was this scientific and systematic technique. In a sense, it's a beautiful amalgam of this holistic approach which brings these things together, and then when they are applied for a practitioner, then again there's a reductionist approach. Things are broken down into little pieces that person can gradually, like you can't attempt to grasp the entire subject or the entire science of yoga in one go. So even if it is, say, the practice of Hatha Yoga, which is physical oriented, within there are different aspects like asanas, pranayamas, mudras, bandhas. Within them you categorize and classify them as beginner level, intermediate level, advanced level. Within each practice there's a progression, how you begin from a physical level and then go into deeper levels. So this, I believe, was the genius of Swami Satyananda. A holistic approach, and yet when applied, it was applied in a very progressive, systematic, scientific manner. And I believe that has been the hallmark of the Satyananda Yoga tradition, along with the emphasis on awareness and the importance of personal experience on the part of the practitioner. It is not a mechanical exercise, it's not a mechanical practice. The practitioner has to put in his or her bit, and the foundation of that is awareness.
Awareness.
To be mindful of what you are doing, to be aware whether it is a simple asana or it is an advanced meditation practice, because that is what deepens in the end the experience of yoga and allows you to reap the maximum benefits.
With your answer, Swamiji, the tradition and its practice becomes crystal clear. I see Swami Satyananda immersing himself in the society, learning the needs of the society, then integrating the various yogas together, and then giving it back in a scientific manner, and integrating, and then for a beginner, as you use the word reducing, a reductionist approach, step by step, and then putting it into the awareness frame. What a scientific way and also a rational way of bringing in this ancient science and giving it to society. And you also spoke about how from scratch he started building this institution, and his vision of having teachers in the beginning who go out in the world, and in 20 years he built it into big. And Swami Satyananda's contribution to it is great, and also an add-on contribution of Swami Niranjan and Saraswati ji also. I would like you to tell us a little more about this journey of the growth of Bihar School of Yoga.
Yes. So Swami Satyananda ji started from scratch and gradually built it up. And initially he had to face an uphill task, because in the time that he was fulfilling his guru's mandate, this is the time of the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. People had a lot of misconceptions about yoga.
Yes.
They didn't realize that it was a subject or a science that was applicable for them. They either had notions that it was meant for recluses or hermits, or they had funny notions about how it had to do with miraculous feats, like sleeping on a bed of nails, or drinking acid, or eating glass, or walking on fire. There was this aura of mystery
around
and this association with miraculous feats. And that kept the common man away from this science. Swami Satyananda has said many times, he said, early on in India, yoga was a part of people's lifestyle and culture. It's only when people moved away from it for whatever historical reasons or accidents, that is when the level of health, the level of the mental capabilities, the potential, the state of a society began to degenerate. And that is why he lays so much emphasis on bringing back yoga into the mainstream. And one of his major contributions was to establish yoga on a scientific footing to show that it was not any of this miraculous feat or power business, that it was a science just like any other. You have an hypothesis, you do an experiment, you validate it, the results are replicable. In that manner, seeing that the modern man is a rational being who accepts everything only on the validity of the data that he sees and doesn't rely much on belief or faith. So seeing the needs of society, the condition of modern man, Swami Satyananda did a lot of work in conducting scientific experiments on the different practices, different techniques of yoga, in scientific laboratories, in hospitals, in clinics, both in India and overseas. And these researches conclusively showed that yes, indeed, the claims that were made by yoga were fully validated through a process of scientific experimentation, conducting clinical trials as per the norms. And then Swami Niranjan took this mission, this work forward, and yoga was taken to the entire society, all the different sections of society, different strata of society, and made applicable for them. So there was a big impetus given to taking yoga to people where they needed it. And as part of this program, yoga reached the police, the army, and was adapted to their conditions, to what they needed out of yoga. It was taken to medical colleges and hospitals, and the training was given to medical personnel, nurses, doctors. It was brought into the field of sports. Many top athletes and sports persons were given yoga training, many of them from the national teams of India. Yoga was taken to prisons, and that was a very worthwhile contribution that yoga made. Taking yoga to the prisons, teaching the inmates, and from the anecdotal evidence and also from the surveys that were conducted, psychological surveys of these inmates before and after, one could see a clear difference. So much so that in many of the prisons, many of the lifers, after they underwent the training, they were so inspired and transformed that they took up the challenge of continuing the teaching work.
Teaching work within the
prison. They were lifers, so they were there for life or for an extended period of time. And the fact that yoga brought about a qualitative change,
changed in the life,
even in the lives of what society would call hardened criminals, indicates its potential, how it touches the conscience of the individual, which no other amount of lecturing or any other way of influencing may not achieve. Because yoga approaches the entire human personality, the feelings, the emotions, the body, the mind, the intellect, and at the subtlest level, the spirit as well. So it's bound to have an impact.
It's bound.
And that was seen in these prisons, in drug addiction centers, people suffering from alcohol or drug addiction. It was applied successfully there. In therapeutic applications, many psychosomatic diseases which are a challenge for modern medicine, like diabetes, asthma, arthritis, hypertension. It was shown that yoga can actually help cure and manage these conditions, provided the practices are done in a proper manner, the person is willing to bring about the relevant changes needed in the lifestyle as well. So that was again a major contribution. Even intractable diseases like cancer and HIV, even in those diseases, it was seen that yes, maybe not a full cure, but definitely the quality of life of the patient improves.
Improves.
Schools and colleges amongst children and youth. That has been a major contribution of Swami Niranjan. He started what's called the Children's Yoga Fellowship, the
Yes,
Bal Yog
yes,
Mitra Mandal.
yes.
It started with a handful of children, and now within the city of Munger alone, we have thousands of these children who have been trained.
Yes, sir.
They are trained as yoga teachers and instructors, and they go out and teach other children. And this whole movement is for the children, by the children. They manage it themselves.
Yes.
And research has been conducted on what these practices of yoga have done on them, taking parameters like creativity, health, memory,
Yes.
and it has been seen that this yogic intervention, and a very gentle intervention, it's not that they are made to go through a regimen of lots of practices and
Yes,
difficult
yes,
poses.
yes.
No, a simple regimen
Yes.
creates a qualitative difference, a change. Similarly with youth who are in a period when there are lots of distractions, lots of dissipations, this youth yoga fellowship, Yuva Yoga Mitra
Yuva
Mandal,
Yoga.
was started by Swamiji. And these people act like the hands.
Right.
They help serve, help out in yoga propagation,
Yes.
in other conditions where help is needed. An incident that comes to mind is the devastating earthquake that struck Bhuj
Yes.
many years ago. And the members of this youth yoga fellowship, they traveled all the way to Bhuj, spent many months there,
Yes.
and they were helping out in whatever way they could. And that indicates this expressive aspect of yoga, that yoga is not limited to the individual.
Yes.
Should allow the individual to reach out and
To
help
reach out,
others as well.
help others.
So this has been one of the major contributions of Swami Niranjananandji, these social applications of yoga.
Social applications.
Practically every section, children, youth, women, corporate executives
Yes.
who face a lot of stress, their needs are different. And so that work was done on a large scale. And Swamiji himself has also developed the subject of yoga, brought out many hitherto unknown aspects of yoga into the public domain, many practices of meditation, and that's his ongoing project to develop this yogic science. That is
Yes.
another hallmark of this tradition,
This tradition.
that unknown practices which are part of our tradition,
Yes.
but which are present in our scriptures or the shastras in cryptic form or
Or
in terse form.
Turn form.
It needs a luminary, a master who has that personal
To
experience
extract,
to
out
extract
of
the
that,
relevant.
out of that, and then present it to the society.
Exactly.
Society.
So that has been an ongoing effort of this tradition. It's the tradition of the Saraswati Parampara, and it's one of the mandates of this tradition is to preserve that knowledge
Knowledge.
so that it's passed on to future generations.
Swamiji, I was thinking of asking you why this place is epicenter of yoga in the world, but what all you have told me, it has to be the epicenter of yoga in this world. Mainly because every aspect and every section of society has been touched by
Yes.
yoga progressively through efforts of Swami Satyananda Saraswati ji and subsequently by Swami Niranjan Saraswati ji. And it really warms me when I hear that a lifer in a prison finds a meaning in his life and becomes a person who gives yoga forward to others, which
Yes.
goes to prove that in every human being you have to touch a chord and there is always some positivity and good in him. Swamiji, it is the epicenter, this place. People throng this place from all over the world. One very unique aspect of this institution is the huge, vast literature which you have. I think it's the biggest and the most authentic literature on the subject of yoga in the world. And it's been my experience that a lot of people first get in touch with the publication and thereafter make a move to come here. But such a vast dimensions of yoga, such a huge literature, what would you suggest as the baby steps for the beginner to start his journey on the path of yoga?
That is a difficult question because, as you have mentioned yourself, the literature that has been brought out by this institution, the Bihar School of Yoga, is indeed phenomenal. The range and scope of the different books, and each caters to a particular need, it's for a particular purpose. But if it's for a beginner who, without much previous exposure or training in the science of yoga, wants to come and get something practical out of it, because in the end we believe that whatever you do as part of your yogic training or practice or sadhana should be practical. It should have an impact on your life.
Yes.
It should not just be an abstract philosophical idea.
Exactly.
So although we do have texts that touch upon the philosophical aspect of yoga, the deeper aspects of yoga, but for a beginner I would suggest a series that we call the Everyone series.
Everyone series.
Yes, and as the name suggests,
It's for everyone.
it's for everyone.
It's for everyone.
So it's yoga for everyone, that's the general title. And within this you will find books that touch upon either the different branches of yoga or the different practices, be they asana practices, pranayama practices, the shat karma practices, which are the cleansing practices, or meditative practices, or relaxation practices. So there's a whole set, more than a dozen.
Yes.
So for example, one would be called Hatha Yoga for Everyone. That would be the name of this
Name
book,
of
the title of the book.
Yeah.
And it presents the subject of Hatha Yoga, which in itself is a deep and vast
It's
subject.
a vast subject.
It presents it in a simple, tangible manner for the layperson, for everyone practically. And the nice thing about these books is that they present the theory in brief, and then they give practices in what Swami Niranjan calls it, and that's again a very important contribution of his. He calls it the yogic capsule concept.
Right.
So, keeping in mind the busy schedule of people these days, people lead extremely busy lives, they have lots of demands on their time and attention. To expect them to take out a big chunk of their time in the day and devote it for yoga practices is impractical. And so for the majority of people, yoga is presented in a capsule form.
And that can be the beginning.
Yes. And it doesn't mean that it's being watered down. No. It's just small bites of yoga
Okay.
that you practice over the course of your day at different times of the day, and which are manageable. 10
Yes.
minutes here, 5 minutes
5
there,
minutes
15
there.
minutes there.
Yeah.
So this book, for example, will have these small capsules,
Yeah.
and again it will indicate different categories of people for which a particular capsule is useful
suited.
or applicable.
Okay.
So for example, teenagers and adolescents would form a group. They have different needs.
Different needs.
Children have different needs.
Yeah.
Housewives have a different lifestyle and a need.
Absolutely.
Sports people, again, different.
Yes.
Executives, different. And sadhaks, meaning aspirants who are serious
Yes,
about
yes,
yoga and want to
yeah.
get deeper, they
Yes.
again form a different category.
Category.
So for each such category, a set of these capsules is presented. And a beginner can pick up this book and right off the bat,
Yes.
start
Start doing.
somewhere, start doing even a little bit,
Yes.
and they would see the differences that
Yeah.
come about from these yogic interventions. So for a beginner, that's the series I would
That's the
recommend.
series.
And you would be interested to know that most of these literatures, in fact all these literatures, are freely available online. That has been part of this tradition since the beginning, since the time of Swami Shivananji. He used to call this Gyan Yagya, the dissemination of knowledge. So from the beginning it was that this is the main mission, and all this knowledge is meant for the public and it's available for free. We have a website called satyamyogaprasad.net, and there's also an app available on Apple and Android with the same name, so you can access this either through the app or through the website. And all these books are available in digital format, so anyone can just go online and get what they need.
Such a good way for a beginner to begin, and all he has to do, like in the modern world, a few clicks on the mobile, and he goes to satyamyogaprasad.net, and capsules are available there, and he can begin his journey that way. And these capsules again are not watered down, they are capsules to each one's needs, and that way the first steps can be taken. But Swamiji, suppose somebody has already taken the first steps and he or she wants to deepen yoga in their life. How to go about that?
In 2013, the Bihar School of Yoga celebrated its Golden Jubilee, and it was celebrated with many events, including a World Yoga Convention that was conducted here in Munger, that attracted delegates, thousands of delegates from all across the globe. And at the end of that convention, Swami Niranjan declared that the first chapter of yoga, of Bihar School of Yoga, which was dedicated to the propagation of yoga, that chapter was over. For 50 years, that was the mandate, to expose people to yoga. People did not even know about it or had misconceptions about it. So the first 50 years, the focus was to take the message of yoga
to the people.
Now that work has been done to a reasonable degree of satisfaction. Now even a lay person has heard about yoga, knows a little bit about it, maybe he or she practices a little bit. And there are some who now want to go deeper into it, as you just mentioned, who have seen the benefits at a superficial level, and they want to deepen that experience that they have gained. And keeping such people in mind, Swamiji has declared that now the second chapter of yoga has begun.
Okay.
And this second chapter of yoga again focuses on the practice and the lifestyle aspects of yoga. In the practice aspect, it attempts to deepen the practice. What initially was a superficial experience, now with the positive intention of the aspirant, with the sincerity, seriousness and commitment of the aspirant, begins to deepen. And yoga no longer remains just as a subject or a science, it becomes a vidya, a living experience. That is the goal of the second chapter. And on the lifestyle aspect, to again, so here in the practice aspect we are trying to deepen, and in the lifestyle aspect we are trying to widen the scope. So that yogic experience, that yogic awareness, not stay to that short period of yoga practice that you do. It should not be limited to your time on the yoga mat.
It should be whole round the day.
Exactly. It should spread to your whole day. It should reflect in your attitudes, your awareness, your behavior, your understanding, your thinking, your interactions, your relationships. It should touch every aspect, because that is important to the quality of life that you lead. So that is the goal of this second chapter, and serious aspirants can draw what they need from it. Lay people can draw from it what they need. They can begin to see how the lifestyle aspect of yoga can help to simplify their lifestyle, declutter many things, this combination of karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, different techniques and tools. So in this sense, it's meant to both widen the experience and deepen it.
the experience.
So that is again a very big contribution of Swami Niranjananandji, and we'll be seeing the effects of it in the coming years, because it is again it's like the second chapter, a second revolution or renaissance, and it will take its course and time. But we look forward to the day when we see the positive outcome of all these things.
Swamiji, coming to the world in near past, the whole world was shocked by a pandemic. And that pandemic really made people introspect their relationships with life, relationships with the world. And many families, in fact, found themselves, and many families lost many as well. It had an impact at various levels. And I'm very sure, Swamiji, that here at the ashram, there would have been a response to the pandemic. Response at the level of, managing the ashram, managing the environment, response towards the society and the people in general. So tell us something about this.
Yes, the pandemic was indeed a watershed event, nationally as well as globally. No one was left untouched, including us at the ashram. And during the lockdown period, everything was closed. But that's where, again, the overarching vision and mission of Swami Shivananji and Swami Satyananda kicked in. That yoga is meant to benefit humanity and society. And it is not just the individual that we are concerned about in yoga, but the broader picture as well. So when the pandemic hit and people's lives were taking a hit on the personal level, on the health aspect, within the family, in an emotional sense, the ashram brought out yoga programs and disseminated them online, because that was the only way
online
at that time possible. A program was created called Breathe for Healthy Lungs. That had simple practices, basic information about our breath, about the anatomy and physiology of the breath, simple yogic practices that one could do just sitting at home. They did not even need a yoga teacher to teach them that, but they could just pick them themselves, and which would have a positive impact on their health. And from the response that we received from people, the feedback that we got, it was a lifesaver for many people.
Okay.
People reported that, some of them would do the practices, and before and after they would just
touch the oxygen level in the
with an oximeter, just check it, and they could see a clear
jump
difference, a jump. And really simple practices, which even a child could do just by watching the presentation, which had a video and a certain amount of text.
Yes.
And then a comprehensive yoga lifestyle program was brought out and presented online, dealing not just with the physical aspects, with the health, but the entire human condition at that time. People were locked in, the stresses and tensions were building up, leading to friction within the family, within the society. And this yogic lifestyle program, which included everything in this capsule form that I mentioned to you earlier, things that people could do at different times of the day, build a routine, bring some sanyam and anushasan, restraint and discipline, not allow themselves to get dissipated, not just spend their time on social media or watching TV, but constructive use of the time. And it had practical tips. If nothing, you can just spend some time gardening. If you don't have a garden of your own, just a few pots on your balcony. Meal times can be a shared experience. Fine,
Yes.
people were having difficulty, they had to do everything on their own.
On.
Why doesn't the family come together and
do
prepare
it.
the meals? That's
Yeah.
Karma Yoga in action.
Yeah.
Why doesn't the family then after that just sit together and sing a bhajan or a kirtan or chant the Mahamrityunjay mantra? That
Yeah.
brings in Bhakti Yoga. In that manner, little things that a family could do over the course of the day, and in order to maintain their health, their sanity, their peace of mind.
Yes.
And again, this also proved to be a big help from all the feedback that we received. So these were some things that were done on the practice oriented front. And then there was also a big effort to help the community at large. In the beginning stages of the pandemic, quarantine centers were being created where people who were diagnosed with COVID were being kept there.
Yes.
That needed infrastructure.
Yeah.
Munger being a small town in a not very
Yes.
prosperous state of India, the resources were limited, and the ashram practically opened its doors.
Yes.
So whether people needed furniture,
Yes.
mattresses, linen, pillows, just for the quarantine
Sharing,
centers,
yes.
they were just donated. Masks, sanitizers, gloves, face shields, things like that, which people were donating to us. They were freely distributed to whoever needed them. Many people, especially from the weaker sections of society, had lost their means of livelihood,
Yes.
and a program of Annadan was
Okay.
started.
Yes.
So every month, rations would be given,
Yes.
distributed, donated to such families who had lost livelihood. In this manner, in whatever way,
Yes.
the ashram could help out the community. And a program was also created, especially for the people who were out there on the front line.
Right.
The others were in lockdown, but
Yeah,
there were
lockdown,
people,
but there were people on
Yes.
the front line working.
the medical personnel, the police, the
Police.
administration,
Yes.
and they were facing a lot of stress.
Yes.
The program was created targeted for this group, and it was called FFH, for Frontline Heroes. It was
Okay.
dedicated to such people.
For frontline heroes.
Yes.
Very nice.
And simple practices of yoga that could be done even on the move. 5-10 minutes
Yes.
for your physical health, mental peace,
Yeah.
emotional balance.
Yeah.
And again, and it was a freely available app, and from the amount of downloads it got and the feedback we got,
Yes.
it was also a very useful tool for people in those times. So these were some of the activities
Some of the
that the ashram was involved in that time period.
Swamiji, the city of Munger is blessed to have the ashram here, and the spirit of giving in times of pandemic, giving not only, the guidance, also sharing whatever one had with oneself, with those who had less in society.
And I'll just quote Swami Niranjan on that.
Yeah.
And he says that the spirit of giving of kindness, he says, kindness is yoga in action.
Kindness is yoga in action. Yes,
So
absolutely.
it's not,
Beautiful
as
quote.
I've been trying to bring out, it's not, yoga is not limited to what you do on your mat. It has bearings on your entire
Yes.
life, your existence, your relationship with the world around you.
In fact, Swamiji, in my readings, I have read many books, and there's a book called Art of Living. But when I come here, I feel the art of giving is more important than art of living. The real living is
True
in the
indeed.
art of giving. Swamiji, now that post-pandemic things have happened, and we have, as you said, the second chapter has also begun. What is the current focus of Bihar School of Yoga, and what do you see the future ahead?
So the focus is, yes, what is the second chapter now? That is now the focus of Bihar School of Yoga, to help aspirants deepen their experience of yoga, the serious, sincere aspirants, so that they can actually see those effects, those positive transformations in their own life that the yogic scriptures talk about.
Right.
The yogic scriptures are quite clear. If you follow this path, this progression, this is the goal, this is the outcome. And this can only be achieved when one is serious about yoga. If you are just flirting with yoga, if you are just playing on the beach, so to say,
Yeah.
you'll just catch the waves, you'll just get your feet wet.
Wet.
But if you want to really
Take
get
a
the
dip.
pearls, then you have to dive deep in.
Yeah.
So that is now the focus and intended for that group of people, which may not be very large,
You're right.
but who want to deepen that experience of yoga in their own life. And then also the lifestyle aspect, to be able to broaden the living of yoga. Swamiji calls it living yoga from moment to moment.
Moment to moment.
That's how yoga should become.
At all times.
Yes.
At all times.
At all times you are maintaining that yogic awareness, that attitude of positivity, that attitude of joy, which should reflect in your behavior, your interactions, and
Yes.
help to uplift the people around you as well.
As well.
So that in brief is the
Is the
focus.
One last question, Swamiji. Swami Niranjan ji has given the Triple H Sutra for the modern times. What is it?
This mysterious sounding Triple H Sutra
Yes.
is actually very simple and very relevant for present day society. This Triple H Sutra stands for health,
Health,
happiness,
happen.
and harmony.
Oh, lovely.
So this is his mantra, this is his motto for society at large. As I mentioned, there is a small group of people who want to go deep into yoga. So, and for that there is a certain path chalked out, a certain progression. And for the vast majority of people who are at present in this current age of extremely busy lifestyles coupled with stress, tension, distractions, dissipations, with their accompanying frustrations, the petty jealousies, the rat race. And Swamiji is quite honest. For such people to be talking about loftier concepts like samadhi, neither practical nor relevant. The immediate need of the common man is health,
Yes.
both physical and
Physical
mental,
and mental. Yes.
happiness,
To be,
which
yes.
is,
Yes.
no one can deny that.
No one can
Everyone wants
deny
to be
that.
happy.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
Yes.
And harmony.
Oh, yes.
Harmony with oneself, first
And
of
with
all.
people around and the society in general.
Exactly, with your family, with society. Otherwise, discord is becoming rampant. If there cannot be peace or happiness at the individual level, forget about it at the level of the society, of the nation, or of the world. Unless the individual makes that effort. So this is the focus now, to make people aware of these ideas, give them the tools and techniques which help them improve their health, which help them experience happiness in their life and express harmony in their interactions, in their relationships. So that is this Triple H Sutra. And I'll end with a challenge that Swamiji has given, which you could say is part of this sutra. And we, his disciples, call it the Niranjan challenge.
The Niranjan challenge.
Yes.
Oh, lovely.
And the challenge is simple to state, but yes, difficult to practice, but it gives you a goal, something to work towards.
Yes.
And the challenge is, can you stay positive and happy for 24 hours of one day?
One day.
Just one day.
Just one day.
And even amongst the 24 hours, say 12 are spent in sleeping, eating
That's
and
a
other
big
things. So
thing.
let's say 12 hours.
Yeah.
For 12 hours, can you remain positive, happy, optimistic, joyful?
Yes.
If one is honest with oneself and does a little bit of introspection, one would realize that the moments of happiness in one's daily life are quite fleeting, whereas the periods of negativity, bouts of frustration, depression, distraction, dissipation, that is what consumes our entire day. Can we begin to reverse this?
Yes.
After all, happiness is our birthright.
It's a birthright.
It's our nature.
Yes.
We say that the Atman or the spirit, which is our innermost essence,
Yes.
is of the nature of Sat, Chit and Anand.
Anand.
Anand is part of our
Part
being.
of our.
And fine, we may not be able to meet the challenge from day one,
But the effort is there.
but we can make the effort. And Swamiji says, fine, you may start with a 5-minute period. Let's say over the course of your whole day, you can only be happy and positive for say 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Fine, start from that.
Yeah.
Let that become like a resolve, a sankalpa, an affirmation in your life that you strive to work towards.
You're right.
And where there is a will, there is a way.
Yes.
Maybe next week it will be 6 minutes.
And
maybe 7.
it'll grow.
And it'll grow.
It'll grow.
And the more effort that you put in, the
More happiness that you
yes.
accrue.
And it will have a multiplier effect. It will spread to the people
Infectious.
around you, your family
Infectious.
members, your colleagues,
Yes.
and that is the intention of this triple-edged sutra.
Fellow travelers, we were listening to Swami Shivdhyanam ji about the Bihar School of Yoga. He beautifully brought out the journey which was undertaken by the luminaries Swami Satyananda Saraswati ji and before him Swami Shivanand ji, and built upon in modern times by Swami Niranjan. And besides this beautiful journey, what came out was that here is an institution which has integrated all aspects of yoga and gives it to the people in a very systematic, progressive and scientific manner. For the beginners, it came out that they can begin even right now by visiting the satyamyogprasad.net. Go to the beginner's capsule and start practicing yoga. For those who are more seriously interested and want to deepen their experience, the second chapter of yoga has begun. And then, friends, fellow travelers, there is the Niranjan challenge to remain positive and happy. I'm sure you all will try it. Thank you, Swamiji, for such a beautiful, wonderful, illuminating and also a very positive discourse in which there is great hope for future. I truly thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shilvardhanji, for giving us this opportunity to share these ideas with your viewers and with the public at large. And we hope that people benefit from this. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Hari Om.